Raceway, actually to be exact. That's pretty, you know, you have to chainsaw your way in.
Well, sometimes find your way
Time
out.
or two.
So, you guys balance the match racing with the national circuit.
Yeah, we ran both NHRA and ITRA, and so they both had 12 events basically, so it's about like a size, and they're both Winston Drag Racing Series, and ITRA actually was the first Winston Drag Racing Series before NHRA, and so we ran both of them, and we filled them in, you know, but in the early 70s, I was on the funny car, the Coca-Cola funny car,
Right.
Cavalcade Stars, and so like in 1973, I'll never forget, you know, back then there was a thing called an Atlas map. You remember? You get them at the Union 76 truck stop, and you'd look at the map, and they would book our races, and we'd go, what the hell are you doing here? I mean, we're in Detroit. You want us in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, then you want us in Syracuse the next time, then you want us in Atlanta, and then Miami. You go, well, it's only 2 inches on the map. and so, like in 73, even though I had that one little football with it,
Right.
it was 100. I guess I think we drove 117,000 miles.
170,000 miles.
117,000 miles and raced 110 times.
Brutal.
Lots of drugs.
Yeah, you do. That really just keep happening. It's
Yeah. Bill for them.
right. So,
Actually, Fords used to schedule those races 1,000 miles apart so they wouldn't have to pay remote hill rooms. They drive on.
oh yeah, how did you guys, Richard? You know, funny car, top fuel. Did you ever have a preference, or did you just like racing if it had a steering wheel and wheels? You're ready to go.
Well, they were both fun, but the funny car was a little harder to drive. The drive lots and you get to race. You know, like you take the Goose and Snake and Grand Chargers and Chi-Town and the Blue Knights and Snow and those guys, and you go with them and you race with them 3 times a week, all over the country, you're together all over the country. You know, you learn all about people, and the direction was a piece of cake. I mean, that's hard to live.
Can you talk about the camaraderie? You touched on that of just being around and being with those. You know, you're one of these guys that icon sport. Was it a little bit of a constant all-star race feel that you guys would go and match race and then see each other at hotels or restaurants and stuff?
You just learn everything about everybody, you know, and I mean, I'd like to tell some stories, but we just can't tell them. You know?
How many people have to pass away before you
There's
tell
one
them?
of them sitting right down there.
And really with the cavalcade, how was that? I mean, you guys, that was something that Coca-Cola put together and took you guys all across the country. But at certain points, did you guys get along, and then there were rivalries, and you didn't get along? Just naturally being together with those guys had to be some positive things and also some friction.
No, there was 8 cars, so we traveled together. It's like Barnum and Bailey in the sense we didn't necessarily all end up, you know, at least 5 of us to be together. Maybe somebody had to do something maybe, you know, an hour late, but it honestly was, we were together every day, all day, you know, and obviously, and you know, we didn't stay in a lot of hotels because we'd be somewhere Saturday night and then we'd be somewhere Sunday again. And so but it was, there was 8 cars. Schumacher had a car there, but he had to start his team, Tharp on, and they looked at the car, and they filled into the cars. But yeah, we basically were a family.
Dave, I mean, you were kind of around in that, but you, as someone that kind of followed the sport, what did you think of match racing, and how impactful was that to the growth of drag racing, you think?
Oh, I think match racing actually made drag racing. We know it now. But NHRA was hesitant to accept funny cars. And that's kind of why I like funny cars. But they didn't like the name. for one thing. They didn't actually like the breed. And they were the last sanctioning body to really reluctantly say, okay, we're gonna have a funny car class and you guys can race. But Gene Snow from Fort Worth, he had a funny car, was a match racer, and he found a way around NHRA's neglect. He ran the funny car in comp eliminator one year and won Indy, U.S. Nationals. And he ran the car in super eliminator next year, won Indy, U.S. Nationals. And shortly thereafter, the engineer went, well, the funny cars are going to be around, they're going to find a way to get around it. So that was the deal.
And you talk about the significance of winning Indy. Can you guys talk about what it meant to win that race? I mean, that was led to your NHRA championship. Billy, you got a victory there. What?
Well, Indy's special. I mean, you win the world championship and you win Indy's a lot more for me and everybody out there than the world championship. You win Indy. When I won Indy, it was a 32-car field.
Right.
And that's a lot. That's,
Every top fuel car, everybody that had a top fuel car was an Indy.
Yeah, I think that there's a 32-car field that had 46 fuel cars there. And, you're talking about that natural race deal. You run, like we would run Washington, D.C. on Saturday night, and we'd run Gary, Indiana on Sunday afternoon. And it's just, we run like a lot of times on the 4th of July, and Memorial Day weekend, we start up in Canada, and we run 8 races in 7 days.
And how big was your crew? I mean, it was just you and a couple guys, wasn't it, probably?
It was me, Harry, and Chris.
You would just race, break down, get in the trailer, and take off.
Yeah, of course, we didn't do the maintenance that they do now, I mean, it's, we run run it all week and then work on it and run another. They run 5 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
And he was driving the Blue Max at the time,
Right.
He drove the Blue Max before Raymond, and then he was the last guy to drive the Blue Max in NHRA competition. So in between, he stuck a lot of stuff in there too.
Sure. Billy, can you talk about all the things you brought to the sport? Your experience, what do you think are you most proud of kind of bringing to the sport?
Still being alive.
That's big.
I second that.
Obviously, my life is in 2 departments, right? The racing and the racetrack.
Right.
And the sanctioning body and that. But I mean,
Billy bought the NHRA for a while and had it for a few years and ran the IHRA, and then sold it, and then got back in the NHRA race.
yeah, so one of my more successful things was selling the IHRA. But obviously when you look at the racing side, we were experimental guys, Vic was probably one of the original big corporate sponsor type guys. Brought in, Skoll and Weintraub and all those teams. And then on the racetrack side, the reason why I built the racetrack is because of school, because U.S. Tobacco. That was kind of the what we did. So they blend together, but I built the racetrack. So one of the stories is, when I was the Skull Bandit team in '81, I had been partners with Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds on the rocket car that you talked about a minute ago. And they wanted to do a racing, and so we went and sold the sponsorship to school. So they would have NASCAR as a sponsor, and of course I wanted to use their name to get me a sponsor, so they called it the Skull Bandit team, plus Smoking Bandit. Well, Lou Mandel, who was the chairman of the board of U.S. Tobacco at the time, him and his wife came to Englishtown. I had gone to Daytona with them, and of course they're having caviar and their sweets and champagne. And they come to Englishtown in '81, and I'm who, if anybody here's been to Englishtown, but in July of '81, but it's 105 degrees and porta potties and no suites. And they flew into their Gulfstream 3 to the race. And so, by the grace of God, I used to park next to Larry Miner's team and Gary Beck, because we were kind of partners in crime. And at least he had a bathroom in his race. But she was 64 years old with a cane, and there wasn't a bathroom on the property. And as soon as they left there, they pretty much told me they were done the drag racing. And I lost the sponsorship that year. And that was the main original reason, to do this.
To build the Motorplex.
Yeah, because, and I've told this story 5,000 times, you probably read it many times. I always thought that drag racing was a big league sport playing in little league ballparks.
Well,
So to finish that, which is why when I built the racetrack, I wanted it to, of course, be a big league ballpark. So I actually went to Texas Stadium where the Cowboys played, and I counted every bathroom and put one more. Just so we could say that we're a big league.
the racing and you guys talked about the innovation. Richard, what was and through the arc of your career, what was probably the most impactful innovation for you, or was there a speed record, or what about the racing kind of stands out to you the most?
That's pretty right. I really don't know that. And it's just, I don't know.
So when you first started racing, your top speed was what? I know when you left, it was well over 200 miles per hour.
Oh, when I first started racing, I was racing gas bicycle, like 140.
Right.
When I ended up at like 270.
Yeah. And then Billy, for you, was there anything, you were in the funny car class, the guys that were doing kind of the innovation with Bernstein, the Batmobile, and all that stuff. What drew you to the funny car? Because that's all you drove professionally, correct?
Well, yeah, because Grover asked me to drive one, so that was pretty simple. Nobody ever asked me to drive anything else. So, once you get into that, and that's what you do, and you're lucky enough to win enough races, and then you get known for that, you can't stay with that. But I do have a funny story, which is, that ties Richard and my careers together. Do you want to tell it, or you want me to tell it? So in 1973, I thought I was pretty cool. I was 18 still at this time. I had to turn 19 in May, and I won the Manufacturers Funny Car Championship, and so I'm really cool. And I get a new car, and we go to the Winter Nationals, Winter Nationals, and this is the car I crashed in the lake and drowned, and then they got me back. Lakeland, Florida, unfortunately, is the name of the town too. So I should have known there was a lake there. and by the way, after that, I did go to the Innovator Racetrack and see what the hell was down there. In that early stage, I didn't used to go to the Innovator Racetrack, but so they rebuilt the car, and I couldn't drive it. It was a brand new car. It was beat up Pete Banger here in Dallas, right next to Richard's shop. And I hit the throttle, go down, hit the throttle, go right. And everybody said, the kid's just a chicken shit. He just scared. He just crashed. And most people that knew me realized I didn't really understand what it meant to be scared. So I parked the car and I bought a new Kluger car, an SNR racehorse, which is what all of mine have been, and all the forces have been, and everybody. And so Richard is in Milan, Michigan, and had a match race, and they burned their car to the ground. So he calls me and goes, hey, he goes, could I borrow that car? You can have that car. He goes, well, actually, we burn up everything. Can I use the motor? I said, hell, I'll even go with you. I want to see if you may drive this of this. So we load up on this trip. We go to Rockingham to the I-Trade Spring Match. And that's back when they had a ramp truck. That's right. So it's just me and him. We don't have a crew. So we're hauling in, we're late, as typical. And so we're going 100. we get out of jail, I mean, we pay the ticket, and we finally get there, and so he's thinking, this is gonna be paid for. He hits the throttle and almost kills him, he goes left. and almost
Wait a
hits him.
minute, wait a minute. We got 2 tickets running 80 mile an hour plus within a 10-mile area.
That was at least a different police officer that gave you the tickets.
Two different police.
So you can tell the story about, you tell the story about when we get to races.
Oh, yeah. But we get to the races, and everybody thought it was Billy, couldn't knock the car. So I get in the car, and hit the throttle, and boom, it goes like that. What the hell's going on? We come back, we look at everything, we go back up there and hit the throttle, goes slide. And, Billy was kind of happy because, he got his
It
name.
wasn't him, it was being proven it wasn't him.
Yeah, so Pat Foster was saying that.
We qualified number 16
Yeah.
with this little hit the throttle, hit the throttle, hit the throttle,
Yeah.
and get down there.
So Foster says, if you change those torsion arms around, I think it'll be different. And, bullshit. Torsion arms, Pat said, just change them. So it's for the first round. So we changed them and went up there, and I don't remember who was racing. Boom. Low ET, track record, high charge record. Shit, So we get back and.
Can I have my car back?
Sometime we did there, I remember.
It was probably you driving. But it was that simple. Pat Foster was one of the best chassis guys in the world. He came over and he picked up the right front tire. He goes over and picks up the left front tire. He goes, this side's way too heavy. He changed his torsion arm, put it over there, and turned it upside down. And we looked at him like he was crazy. And that's a different subject, but because he was crazy. But he was smart. But it was, and I don't know why we didn't win it, but it ran 6:33, and Butch got every run for that. The manufacturer race at 6:52, and that was only 6 months later, and it set the I-3 world record.
Yep.
And then he screwed up the race.
You're around both these guys so much. What about them sticks out in your mind when it comes to them on a racetrack driving a race car? I'm trying to be kind.
Actually, they're both just good, pure drivers. Richard was kind of like the Chuck Yeager of drag racing. Whenever somebody had a problem with their race car in the Dallas area, Richard was the guy, he was the go-to guy. So they put Richard in the car, and if he couldn't get it done, then there was something wrong with the car. Billy, I mean, I hated it when he retired from racing, because anytime he showed up, we had a chance to win. You wouldn't know it sometimes in the test sessions here at the Motorplex, and had the body off and set it aside. The crew guys were almost touching that barrier, getting ready for him to hit the throttle. But when he was racing, he was a threat to win anytime.
What do you guys miss most about racing? I'll start with you, Billy.
The words.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Richard. What do you miss most about racing?
I just been really been driven, I'd like to go back and race again. Just drive one more or 3 times and run that quick, I just like to see what it was.
Billy?
I guess they're driven. Obviously, you don't miss the traveling. You don't miss kissing sponsors' asses. You don't miss being away from the family.
Don't miss the Bird Center in Detroit.
Don't miss the Bird Center. They're not real nice people, those Bird Centers, but they don't really have that side of the banner. But you don't miss working 24/7. These guys, I don't know if y'all, obviously not racers, you realize how many hours people work on cars and how many travel. You miss the camaraderie.
Now I'm going to open up for questions. Who has a question? Since Nikki gave you the capability to walk out the grandstand, someone put their hands up and ask me a question, and I'm just gonna say maybe someone else might have some better questions than me. Well, this guy right here, you got off. All right, here we go. I'm actually gonna bring the microphone to you so you can.
Have you ever ran in Urbandale, California?
How many times?
Oh, okay. Because, I remember sixth grade being seeing the line.
Yeah, we raced in Irwindale. We raced in Irwindale tons of times, and Tharp raced in Irwindale tons of times. Steve Evans, who was the famous announcer in NHRA, and Diamond P guy, and he was the promoter at Lions Drag Strip and at Orange County. He used to run Irwindale, and he ran there many times. I ran there many times, and it was a cool racetrack. A little short, but it was still cool.
This guy's got a question right here. He's wearing a Blue Max hat and a Cruise Pentagon shirt. It's a very, very confusing combo.
That's okay, that's okay. This is for all the funny car drivers here. Back in the day, like in the 70s, Tommy Idle was known as a prankster. And I just want to know if you were involved in any pranks. Like he changed the hoods on all the dualies in the parking lot. And Perdome came out and he was pissed because he was driving a red and white dually. And Idle and John Tarzan put a blue hood on his truck.
You guys ever involved in any Tommy Idle pranks?
No. When is time limitation up? How many years is it?
I mean, but he brings up a question. You guys are around each other so much. Did you guys what gamesmanship pranks? What can you give us one little anecdote about something you may have pulled on a fellow competitor to just kind of either get in their head or just have some fun?
I wouldn't call it pranks, but I think I made force red light maybe 5 times.
How did you do that?
Well, I'd either deep stage and either freak him out and he'd leave, or I would blink the top line out or whatever. And he just, back for a period of years, and I know John, just so you'll know, I used to live with the Condit family, who was the LA hooker from the car. I lived with them in the winters. And John had never driven a race car in his life. And we would work on my car one day in their garage and his car one day. And this was in 72, 73. And I was 18. So I was like 10 years younger than everybody. So I had to be friends with them because I couldn't buy beer by myself. So I needed to have over 21 friends. But he would come over as a truck driver and talk about being a funny car driver. You know, and we'd be bullshit. I mean, that's fine. Go drive your truck. But talking about pranks and things, I mean, we probably did a tons of things that, good thing about being my age, you forget them.
Richard, anything stick out in your mind that you guys would do to your fellow competitors or anything?
Can't really remember anything that big I can tell here, you know.
All right, we'll get an after hours. Next year, Funny Car Chaos, 3rd annual, we'll do an after hours. We're getting these, maybe get some drinks to these guys and get a little more loose lift here. Sir, do you have a question?
No, I got it. Tommy Idle prank.
Okay.
He once took Perdome's hair all over and gave away all of it, and he told me 40 years later he didn't make it either.
That does not surprise me at all. Because I can see Perdome hang on to a grudge like that. Anyone else? Any questions? Anyone? All right, I've got some more for you guys. Right up here.
This is for Mr. Meyer. What story do you have about Mr. Couch?
That can be told
We damn
when
sure
there's
next time.
little kids around.
What time is it?
It's after 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, Donnie, which one do you want? There's one with a gun. Unfortunately, I was the one that's holding it. Okay, so Donnie and I, this is probably 1978. Donnie he's just, and I'm looking out the window, and he's just looking up there. So I said, I whipped out my 45 and I rolled the window down and I was aiming at him. He goes, pull over! I rolled that window back up. I said, honey, we just jacked with the wrong guy. Do not stop under any circumstances. And we went to the race.
You just went to the races.
Yeah, we forgot that. And that guy somehow, I don't know what made him stop, but he quit falling.
Sure. You talk about going to all these races and all these characters. Who is the biggest character that stands out in your mind, Richard? Just a personality, whether it was a promoter or a fellow racer or a crew guy. Who stands out in your mind as someone that should have a movie made about them? That
It would definitely, it probably Jungle. Yeah, for sure.
what I think a lot of people know that, but what about Jungle Jim? Just stands out, just from soup to nuts, just his whole persona and what he did and his lifestyle and the whole thing, or
Well, he was just he was a promoter's dream. I mean, he come up with all kinds of bull. You know, I mean, we had more fun with Jungle than we had with anybody. They'll probably tell you the same thing I'm to say. There should be a real big movie about him in Japan.
Denzi. I mean, you've seen, even your job was to promote the sport, but who do you think, as far as characters goes, deserves a movie or should have a movie about, or stands out in your mind?
Well, actually, yeah, Richard's a pretty good choice, but there are so many great personalities in this sport, and that's what drew me to the sport in the first place, what keeps me involved, is that you can talk to just about anybody out there, and if you get in depth into what brought them to the sport and their career and how they got to this point from that point, I mean, it's a pretty compelling story. At least a great story. He should have died. I mean, he ran off the end of the track at Lakeland, should have drowned.
I did.
At Canada, the first year that he's chasing the championship in '77, he has an enormous fire at Montreal. Burned him up pretty good, and he got volunteered to fly him to Detroit's the Burn Center. But it was the weekend when the air traffic controllers were on strike in Canada. So that started the trip. So it was Connie, Billy, and Leslie Lovett, the NHRA photographer, who wanted to get the film back to LA for National Tracks. And so you probably should finish this up, Tori. They started back, and the sequence starts going down.
Actually, NHRA let Connie land on the drag strip to pick me up.
But then you're going to Detroit, and the ceiling starts lowering, and Connie says everything's fine.
Well, so Connie, if y'all know Connie very well, you don't know if he's looking at you or looking over there. Keep an eye out for you.